Welcome to the deep dive.
Great to be diving in.
So today we're digging into a stack of sources about one particular dinosaur. It's maybe not a household name.
Definitely not T-Rex famous.
No, right. But it's got a really cool story. We've got some PDF excerpts here, all focused on this creature.
And you don't need like a PhD in paleontology to follow along. It's quite the tale.
Our mission is basically to unpack what these sources tell us about Caenagnathasia martinsoni.
Caenagnathasia.
Why this one? Well, partly because it's tiny, but also its story. It really shows how science works, piecing things together.
Exactly. It's a perfect example of how understanding evolves. You start with fragments, literally, and build from there. It's detective work.
Okay, let's start right there. What is Caenagnathasia? The sources say it's a dinosaur, obviously.
Right.
Specifically, a small Caenagnathid oviraptorosaurian theropod, which sounds like a lot.
It is a mouthful, but let's break it down. Theropod. That's your basic two-legged, mostly meat-eating dinosaur group. Think Velociraptor, but also includes the ancestors of birds.
Okay.
Then Oviraptorosaurian. That's a specific bunch within theropods, known for being very bird-like. Beaked skulls, often feathers, that kind of thing. Though their diets were probably varied, maybe omnivores or herbivores.
Okay. Bird-like.
Yeah.
And the last part, Caenagnathaid.
That's the specific family it belongs to within the Oviraptorosaurus. So it's like drilling down the family tree.
Gotcha. And the name, Caenagnathasia, it apparently means recent jaw from Asia. That feels like a pretty big hint about how it was discovered, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It screams, we found a jaw, and it was in Asia. The recent part actually ties into the family name, Caenagnathides, meaning recent jaws. So a bit of a naming echo there.
Interesting. So where in Asia, and when was this little guy running around?
We're talking Late Cretaceous period.
Yep.
The sources pinpoint it to Uzbekistan, near a place called Zorakuduk.
Right, in the Bisekti Formation.
Exactly, that's the rock layer. And Late Cretaceous, well, that's the last hurrah for the non-avian dinosaurs, maybe 100 down to 66 million years ago.
And Uzbekistan. Maybe not the first place you think of for dinosaurs.
Perhaps not, but Central Asia has turned out to be incredibly important. It's yielded some amazing fossils that help connect dinosaurs from Asia and North America. Think land bridges, that sort of thing.
And the age of these specific Bisekti layers is key. The sources say Turonian coniation, putting it around 90 million years ago.
Yes, and that 90 million years, that's really significant because it makes Caenagnathasia the oldest known member of its specific group, the Caenagnathoids.
The oldest one, wow.
Yeah, finding the earliest known member of a group tells you a lot about when and where that lineage first popped up and started diversifying. It's a key evolutionary marker.
Okay, so oldest known Caenagnathoid, 90 million years old. Uzbekistan, small bird-like theropod. How did we even find out about it? You hinted it started with the jaw.
It did indeed, all thanks to the jaw.
So the sources say it was officially named back in 1994 by Philip Currie, Stephen Godfrey, and Lev Nassov.
A well-known team. Currie, especially, is a big name in theropods.
And the basis for the whole genus, the holotype specimen, was just a pair of fused dentaries.
That's it. The dentary is the main bone in the lower jaw, so fused together. Just that little bit of the chin, basically.
That's not much to go on.
Not much at all. Imagine finding just that and having to name a whole new dinosaur.
They did mention a second specimen in that 94 paper too, right? Another right dentary, slightly smaller.
Correct. N40212457. And importantly, the sources note both were considered adults.
Okay, so even the slightly smaller one was grown up, which tells you something about the size right away.
It does. But think about the challenge. From just those jaw fragments, what can you really know?
Seems limited.
Well, more than you might think. Jaw shape hints at diet in this case. The lack of teeth pointed towards a beak. Bone texture can indicate maturity. And crucially, the specific features were enough to say, okay, this looks like it belongs in that Caenagnathidae family, which itself was largely defined by jaw characteristics.
So the family name recent jaws was fitting because that's often what they found.
Pretty much, yeah. Especially early on. So for decades, our picture of Caenagnathasia was literally just these few inches of lower jaw.
Must have left huge gaps. The rest of the body, how it moved.
Total unknowns. Pure speculation based on relatives.
But paleontology keeps digging, right? The story didn't end there. Fast forward to 2015.
Yep, nearly 20 years later.
And new stuff turns up from the exact same site in Uzbekistan.
Which is brilliant. Finding more material from the same bone bed dramatically increases the chances you're dealing with the same animal. It firms things up.
And these weren't just more jaw bits, were they?
No, this was much better. They found vertebrae bits of the backbone.
Huh.
Another dentary. Okay. But also a femur, a thigh bone.
Ah, now we're talking. A leg bone makes a huge difference, I bet.
Massive difference. Suddenly you're outside the skull. Vertebrae tell you about the neck, the back. The femur gives you solid data on limb proportions, which lets you estimate overall size much more reliably. It starts to flesh out the skeleton.
And this new material really solidified what those tiny jaws hinted at, its size.
Oh yeah, it's defining feature, really. The sources are clear. Caenagnathasia is the smallest known oviraptorosaur.
And maybe one of the smallest non-avian dinosaurs, period.
Definitely one of them. It's right down there at the tiny end of the scale.
We're talking those first jaw fragments were just a few centimeters, and the estimated skull length.
About 3 inches, 7.6 centimeters.
3 inches, that's tiny, like the length of my thumb, maybe.
Pretty much an entire dinosaur skull that small. And when Gregory S. Paul estimated the total body size in 2010, incorporating the likely proportions.
You got what, 2 feet long?
2 feet, yeah. About 60 centimeters. Shorter than a lot of house cats are long.
And the weight estimate.
Just 3 pounds, maybe 1.4 kilograms.
3 pounds, that's incredible. It's amazing something that small could even fossilize well enough to be found.
It's true. Tiny bones are so fragile, easily destroyed or washed away.
Yeah.
Finding small adult dinosaurs is much rarer than finding the big guys.
Yeah.
It just shows the amazing diversity in body size that dinosaurs achieved.
And based on its relatives, the Oviraptorosaurs, we can assume it looked pretty bird-like. Feathers?
Almost certainly feathered, yes. Beaked skull, probably long legs, long neck.
Yeah.
Very much that classic Oviraptorosaur look, just miniaturized.
That feathered look really drives home the dinosaur bird connection, too.
Absolutely. Oviraptorosaurs are prime examples of that close relationship.
Okay, so we have a better picture of the size, and look now, thanks to those 2015 finds. But what about its place on the family tree? That classification wasn't always straightforward, was it?
No, it went back and forth a bit, which is actually pretty common in paleontology.
So originally in '94, based on just the jaws.
Yeah. They put it pretty firmly in this Caenagnathidae family. It even helped define the features of that family in some analyses.
But then later, some researchers weren't so sure. The sources mentioned suggestions it might be more basal, more primitive.
Right. Some thought maybe it branched off earlier, perhaps before the main Caenagnathaida group, which includes Caenagnathidae. Holtz suggested this in 2010, for instance.
Why the doubt? Just based on the limited material?
Essentially, yeah. When all you have is the jaw, even if it looks like a Caenagnatha jaw, it's hard to be 100% certain without seeing features from the rest of the skeleton to confirm it shares all the key traits. Maybe it was convergent evolution or just an early relative that hadn't developed all the later features.
But then came the 2015 material. The vertebrae, the femur.
Exactly. That changed the game.
Yeah.
Those new bones provided crucial data points, features from the spine and the leg.
And those features lined up.
They lined up. They showed clear similarities, specific anatomical details that it shared with other definite Caenagnathids, like the big ones, Gigantoraptor, or the North American Anzu, things you couldn't see in the jaw alone.
So the new bones basically confirmed its membership card to the Caenagnathidae family was valid after all.
Pretty much, yeah. It put it confidently back within that family. Though, as the source notes, recent studies suggest it's probably one of the earlier, more primitive members within that family itself. So basal within Caenagnathidae, not outside it.
Okay, that makes sense.
And like I said, this whole process, initial placement, questioning, new data leading to refinement, that's not confusion. That is the scientific method at work. New evidence leads to better, more robust conclusions. It's progress.
It really is a perfect illustration. So wrapping up this deep dive on Caenagnathasia, what are the main things to take away from this little dinosaur story?
Well, for me, it really underscores how much we can learn from seemingly meager evidence. You start with a tiny jawbone.
From 90 million years ago in Uzbekistan.
Right. And eventually, piece by piece, you build up a picture of this unique, tiny feathered dinosaur that tells us about the early evolution of its group, about the ecosystem it lived in, about the sheer range of dinosaur life.
And it highlights the importance of those later finds, adding crucial details.
Absolutely. Patience and persistence. Keep looking in those known fossil sites because more data can completely change, or in this case, confirm and refine our understanding. It shows the value of detailed anatomical work, comparing those new bones meticulously.
It definitely makes you appreciate the process. So thinking about this 3-pound dinosaur, revealed through fragments found decades apart, it leaves you with a thought, doesn't it?
It does.
If Caenagnathasia was out there, this tiny creature from 90 million years ago, what else is still hidden, especially in places like Central Asia that are still being explored? How many other small, maybe even stranger dinosaurs are waiting in those rocks? Maybe just as tiny fragments holding secrets we haven't even guessed at yet.
Makes you want to grab a pickaxe, doesn't it?
Yeah.
There's definitely more out there.
Subscribe for more